This episode's brought to you by Heidi. Imagine kicking back while a HIPAA-compliant AI scribe juggles your notes, ICD-10 codes, letters, billing, and all that jazz for free. Yeah, you heard us right. On the house, it's free. From the genius brain of Dr. Tom, who hated wasting his life writing notes, he started Heidi to change the game. Your Heidi transforms consult babble into crisp, clear soap notes, personalizing itself with every edit you make. It's the next best thing to cloning yourself without the weird science behind it. One day, your Heidi will look through research, take calls, and do anything you don't want to. So what's the catch? There's no catch. If you currently pay for an AI scribe in your practice, you should swap to Heidi. They'll even credit you for anything you've already paid. Heidi will save you an hour or more a day without dipping into your wallet. Dive into the description for the link and make your practice the envy of every stethoscope in town. Sign up, lean back, and watch Heidi work its magic. All for free because you've got better things to do.
We work hard as physicians to take care of the health and well-being of our patients. But when it comes to our money, do we have the same condition of care? Probably not. Let's change that together. Welcome to the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast, where we'll fight and advocate for your financial literacy. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. Thanks for being here. Let's jump into the show.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode, and today's talk is going to be all about financial freedom. And with that, I've got a fantastic guest for you, Kasey Hinchman. He's an elite coach, and he teaches clients how to go from unfulfilled to undeniable. It's going to be a fascinating conversation about financial freedom. He's got quite a fantastic story, very inspirational, and he's also got a book, Undeniable, and which I encourage all of you to check out on Amazon. And with that, thanks so much for coming on, Kasey.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really excited to talk with you, Chris.
Yeah, I know we had a mix-up, but talk about your story and struggles and how you got to be doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. Well, I was very blessed. I grew up in the town of Laguna Beach in Southern California, and my parents, I had the most amazing parents, and they were both self-employed salespeople, business people, and they had some real high levels of success when I was young. Big house and just nice quality of life, and they worked hard. And I watched them go through some real financial difficulties when I was young, between the ages of 7 and, well, really kind of from there on, but between 7 and 10, there was some real difficult stuff that went on, and we moved from the home that we loved into a different area, and a variety of just financial stresses that, they eventually got divorced when I was about 9 years old. It wasn't, like finances were the only reason, but it was definitely a contributing factor. It didn't help that level of just stress and emotion related to, the reality of financial pressures, and how tough that can be on relationships and different aspects of our lives. And so, I got a taste of that at a young age. I also got to see what it's like to be able to have a decent quality of life, living in a town like Laguna Beach and seeing what was available around me, and to experience, maybe some of that for ourselves or for myself. And so kind of seeing that contrast, that juxtaposition, and feeling the sense of loss. At that age, the money or the size of the house didn't matter at all to me. I didn't even care, but I did see and I did feel the emotional impact on my family around financial stress. And so this was a very real thing for me. It was also it was confusing because my parents, even now looking at it objectively, very hardworking people, very smart people, very good at what they did, and even made some decent money at points. And so I had this kind of riddle. I feel like we're all given certain riddles to solve in our lives. And for me, this was one. It was like, how could all those things be in place and that they still end up in these with financial hardship, and even more so the concept, Chris, that we can all go through, any of us can go through financial difficulties or times of prolonged, we have debt or whatever it is. Some of this is just the journey to wherever it is that, to success and to understanding how these things work. And we make mistakes before we get things right sometimes. But when you see a pattern that's repetitive as well, right? When I see this with people that I love or people that I know or people that I don't know, where there's a repetitive pattern. And the closer you are to someone, a lot of times, the more you can see some of this stuff. You're in more proximity to it. You got a front row seat. And so when you see patterns repeat throughout people's lives over decades, for example, then you start to realize it's not just like a one-time market crash, or we made some bad financial decisions, or we got into debt or whatever, and learned from it and moved on. You can see some repeated patterns in people's lives that sometimes they never break out of. So all of this and the parts of it that I got at a young age, again, a lot of it just being the emotional impact, really, I don't want to say it fascinated me. Over time, it fascinated me, but initially it was just kind of traumatizing, right? Or whatever. It was seeing the hardships around it and understanding what was available, right? If I was only born into financial hardship and never had seen anything else, it might not be till way later in life, or depending on what my story is, that I actually saw something else or had a glimpse of what else was possible. But I did experience some of that at a young age, really good quality of life from a financial perspective. And so just coming in touch with that, the range of experiences that people have, and wanting to have control of that for myself. To give you a short answer to your question, Chris.
Yeah. No, it's really because in your book Undeniable, you talk about your fall from grace and the road back, and so there's this really interesting because we all go through ups and downs and cycles, and so one thing is you talk about this feeling, because at a young age you don't know what money is, but you feel what it is like to have it, and what it's like not to have it, so it's kind of this feeling is driving you to success. So tell us, what's interesting is you've learned how to bounce back, and what are some key lessons about resiliency and just really cherishing those times of just the darkest moments. You wish you could just get through it, but those are the times when you're really learning and growing.
Spoken like someone who has maybe experienced some of that, for sure. A lot of people don't ask that type of question, so I really appreciate that. It's interesting. I was watching the show, The Men Who Built America. If you've ever seen that, it's a great show, that kind of mini series about Rockefeller and those guys. And somebody who's really successful currently was talking about these guys who essentially built, our country, or a huge part of building our country and the way things are done. But if they were here today, they wouldn't be telling you about their successes. They'd be telling you about their failures. I found that really interesting, because to me, that's a lot more interesting. I mean, it's interesting the failures that people go through when you're hearing that from someone who overcame them, right? The bigger the villain, the bigger the hero, so that's the thing. And within every problem is the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. That's a universal law. And so, and it's, inside the problem, we need to look into the problem, because in the problem is where the solution lies, which is a little bit counterintuitive, right? Like if you're having struggles financially, there's a natural tendency, like instinct, to not want to look at your finances, because there's negative feelings there, right? Or if you're having issues with your relationship, people a lot of times will spend less and less time together, or kind of continue that momentum, that downward spiral of what's it's keeping their relationship from being successful. And so, for me, the power that came from what I consider, to a point, I've been through a lot at this point, I'm a little bit old, but to a point in my life, that was my parents watching two people who were in love, that I loved, my parents, that really had because they had the real deal. I guess some, people marry for different reasons, and there's a lot of different relationships. My parents were truly in love. To watch two people have that, and then for that to be lost, to see animosity and all that to come with it, was really, really challenging. And to understand that financial stress played such a part in that. like a really, at least a decent part of it. You know, it wasn't just one of like 100 different things. It was a strong enough stress that it really made everything else, whatever else they were dealing with, so difficult. It's the number one stress on most relationships is our finances, you know? And so understanding that and then really taking that darkness, because, you know, like you said, looking at that problem, if you will, or the negative emotions that come from that, and over time realizing that I didn't want this to be a problem for me, that this had to be a solution. There had to be a solution and I had to find it. And I was absolutely committed to it. And this is the thing, Chris, is that the darkness, right? Like every problem carries with it the seed of an equal or greater opportunity, because the darker that it is, the bigger the villain. Like it's not how far you fall, it's how high you bounce, right? And so that it's like kind of like the depth of our struggle determines the height of our success. And so if we don't have a deep enough struggle, basically the darkness of the experience, the negativity of the experience gave me a big enough reason why. You know, I would innately, I have a lot of drive or ambition, but I am fairly certain that I would not have directed it the way that I did, or the portion of it that I have, to truly unraveling the financial, answering the financial riddle and mystery and all of that. It's just because of watching and suffering. And, you know, that's just the beginning. That was my initial experience with it. But what happened later in my life was, you know, the initial thing was watching my parents go through it and experiencing that as a child with our whole family, watching the impact of them, watching my mom sit up, you know, nights after the divorce, trying to figure out how she was going to pay rent, you know, just different things like this. But then later on in my in our late 20s, going into my around 30 or 31, we lost in the 2008 market crash. We lost everything ourselves. And so there we were again, which, just to go to your question, so there I was again. I had thought that I had solved this riddle because we had tremendous success. But by making some key mistakes, we basically lost the properties we had. We were in real estate, and the recession was really hard on everybody who was in real estate, invested, over leveraged, adjustable rate loans, you know, buying rentals. Just for people that are taking notes out there, here's a list of things not to do, you know, purchasing rentals that cost us money every month and had no cash flow, right? Like if you do these things, it just creates a recipe for disaster. The bummer is those are only like 3 different things maybe that we did wrong, like 3 little, seemingly little technicalities in the scheme of all the things that we did right. The problem is, you know, if you're missing a couple of key foundational pieces, that can really mess everything up. But having going through it ourselves gave me just an additional. I was able to turn that dark over time into light, in the sense of it was additional fuel, a huge reason why. I have friends that are saying, hey, that have said things to me like, hey, you know, I mean, I live in Santa Cruz now, a beautiful place. I grew up in Laguna Beach, and I have all sorts of friends, colleagues, acquaintances who are like, you know, my family, they've always been like kind of middle class, upper middle class, whatever that even means. And they paid for my college, you know, and whenever I really need money, they're kind of there. And even now at 30, 40, whatever, like if I need more money for part of my car, like my parents kind of got. So I've never really been that ambitious about doing much of anything. And so, you know, you can kind of, it's all the meaning that we tie to events, right, that happen to us. But you can kind of see how the darkness that I had, those experiences, those, you know, really challenging, kind of soul searching things, right? Like that I had to kind of go through on my journey led me to this place where I was able to find light, in the sense of like the financial, you know, we lost everything, Chris, in 2008, basically ish. We lost all of everything that we had, as far as houses, our net worth, money in the bank, and just everything in the end. We ended up $500,000 in debt. It was tremendous. I mean, we were 29, 30. It was just like devastating. And that debt and that financial, like having our credit messed up and not being able to like be in a position to buy a house or ever, any of these kind of things continued all the way up until, depending which variables we're talking about, 2014. 2016 was the first time I was able to purchase a home again, like in my name. But, you know, by March of 2021, I was completely financially free. And the thing is, it's like, that's a lot of study, a lot of trial and error, a lot of different risks we took, a lot of failures that we had, a lot of like, you know, all these different things. And I have to say that the darkness and the challenges all the pain over the years around this drove me. And it also drove me when, I saw people as I've gotten older, I've seen people in their 60s and 70s working jobs that they don't want to, the ones that are working jobs they don't want to work for pay that's much less than they should be working for, these kind of things, but they have to do it so they can get by month to month in their 60s and in their 70s. So just a foreign level, not even talking about being rich or like, jets or yachts or any of that, just getting ourselves, every human being should want to become financially free, which means that you don't have to work for somebody else, give up a third of your life, 8 hours a day or whatever it is, working for somebody else. It's great if you want to. It's great to be of service. It's great to do all these things, but to get yourself to a position where you don't have to is incredibly powerful. And that should be everybody's goal. And to get there while you're still young enough to enjoy whatever it is that you want to enjoy in life, or give in the ways that you want to give. So again, another short answer to your question, but yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then what I was actually was I was talking with another colleague, and there was and she was saying that her clients. So for example, she teaches clients how to use their intuition, and sometimes their intuition comes up, and it's like their intuition comes up at like just inopportune. It's like when you need the intuition, it's not there, and it's
Right.
and then when you don't need it, it's there. So like when you're using that in your like it's like you're seeking answers in that state. How do you like what do you do? It's like kind of like the universe is like it's kind of like when you need somebody to help you, they're not there, but then when
Right.
you don't, they're there. So
The irony. Yeah, I like to think that there's different levels of being ready and there's different levels of needing something. And I like to think that overall, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. But yeah, there are those times when when you need that intuition or you need to think of someone's name and it just it's not there at that moment, right? So
yeah.
yeah, this too shall pass. You just got to get through those moments.
Yeah. I guess those are the times when you're just forced to really just buckle down and just grow. And it's like kind of like if you were falling off a ledge and nobody's there, you have to like pull yourself up, and
So true. So true. You just have, having that faith.
yeah.
It's interesting thing, having the faith in yourself, or something more than yourself, whatever it is, but having the faith to continue with what what you believe will eventually work, even
Yeah.
though at first it's very difficult, or at first it seems hard, at first you don't understand it, because that's the nature of the universe. The difficulty in anything is typically front loaded. And I've learned over time that if we want something bad enough, and I know this because I've done this in so many different ways, but financial freedom is a great way to show it because it's undeniable, which is why the book is called Undeniable. But if you become financially free where you don't have to work and you can live your quality of life, then you can do that, right? It's not like like if I were to claim I have a incredible spiritual connection, there's nothing like you couldn't disprove it really, or it's not as undeniable, right? Like we can make certain things up, but things like your own physical fitness, because people, you can see how you look, you can see how you move, how you feel, and your finance, right? Like your financial situation, whatever that is, the money in the bank, your passive income, all of these things that whatever they are, right? Those are undeniable. And really it's all about, one of the things that's been great for me is to find ways to inspire other people, people around me, and people who can see like if I'm doing it, that they can do it as well, right? And that's undeniable. That like our ability to do this, we have to choose what it is that we want to believe. When it comes to our mindset, we have to decide proactively, like, what are the beliefs that we want to have? What are the thoughts and the feelings we want to experience on a consistent basis? And a lot of people, we feel sometimes like we are our thoughts or we are our feelings, but we're not really. We're like the observer who gets to choose from among these different thoughts and feelings that kind of go through us, right? And so it's important to be able to have like that 30,000-foot view and make decisions. Because if somebody's sitting here, if you have a podcast called Financial Freedom, and I'm sitting here telling you that at whatever it was, 40, 42 or something, I became truly financially free and never had to work again, whether it be quality of life. And that's after like a lost decade where I lost, because, going into it, losing everything that I made, the years it took to get like out of debt, to eventually be able to buy a house again. It's basically like a decade or so, give or take, 30 to 40 or whatever. 32 to 42, however you math it out. Maybe it's a little bit longer, but like that could have been avoided. Like if somebody has a mentor like me or anyone who knows what they're doing, who truly has done it, to show you how to get there based on your situation. And they're basic principles, like very basic principles that anybody can do that make this happen. You don't have to be an incredibly high earner or have a really unique skill set. You just have to believe in a basic system on how you can do this, believe it's possible, believe you can do it, believe it'll be worth it, right? And it's interesting to me that people don't reach out when people talk about something like this, like, hey, look, I'm financially free. I've made more mistakes than probably any of you, most of you have made. So it's not like there's no arrogance here, but I did find my way and I did do it successfully. Excludes. I'm happy to show you how to do it. Other people can show you how to do it. Just start by believing that that's possible and knowing that's possible. And then what? Like how many people will reach out to me from a podcast like this or from like the 15 posts and stories I do on Instagram every day? Only so many, only so often. I'm honored to have clients and I do well in the coaching space. And, maybe I'll sell a few of these books. It comes out in about a month and a half, 2 months, by the way. So it'll be hitting the shelves soon. But whether I do or not, it's just a matter of only so many people are willing to like move forward on this path. And I don't know why so many are willing to like have to work so late in life or not want to cultivate the belief that a higher quality of life is available for them, that like more time with their families. And anyway, but you know what I'm saying? So these are some of the things that are kind of interesting to me. Like, why do people choose not to, it's like knock and it's answered, knocking doors are answered, asking it's answered, knocking doors are open, seeking you'll find, right? Yeah. But like, what doors are you knocking on? Or how many people don't even ask or seek? And so I just find that interesting. I say all the time on Instagram, I'm like, look, I do group coaching, I do one-on-one coaching. Even if you don't want to do coaching, you're not going to like sign up. I'm not trying to give you some big sales pitch. I'm happy to share the prices or what I do, but just reach out to me. If you're in debt or you're trying to figure out like how you're going to deal with whatever's going on, reach out to me and I'll just help give you some ideas that I guarantee will help you deal with it mentally, structure it. And it's like so many people are in different phases of distress and don't reach out. So it's just interesting. We have to be willing to seek the help, right? Like I've learned as I've grown up, Chris, as I've gotten older, as I've grown up somewhat, that asking for help, being able to ask for help, is a gift, right? Like especially like appropriately, whatever that means. But when you need help, being able to ask for it as like an adult, or as a man is like very challenging for people. A lot of people's lives could be saved, and a lot of marriages could be saved, businesses, and so many things if people would just reach out to, and look for help. Because people like me, it's like if I don't have the exact resources someone needs for whatever their particular problem is, I can connect them with somebody who absolutely does, or I can find the answers for them, right? And so with people like that, and just people in general, I think want to help. So we have to be willing to seek for, to ask that help for ourselves. So
yeah, I love that. And I know, I love this talking about just optimal, and especially this conversation was about rising from the depths. And I know you do a lot of coaching. I know you're a top realtor and you've got an amazing relationship. I know a lot of people would love to talk to you about how they can rekindle the spark in their marriages or with their partners. So how can people follow you, reach out to you, and seek out your guidance and wisdom?
I love it. I'm easy to find. So Instagram, Hinchman Kasey with a K. So Hinchman Kasey on Instagram. And I also have KaseyHinchman.com, my website. So either of those are easy to find. And I'm a real estate agent here in Santa Cruz, so I'm all over the place. I got a bunch of stuff coming up here with the book release as well. We're just going through the editing phases and the book cover design and whatever. So that'll be coming out soon, and we have a bunch of press and stuff around that as well. So I'll be even easier to find. So
nice. Yeah. And for all the audience, let's thank Kasey for coming on and sharing his story, and reach out to him. Does a lot of elite mindset coaching, a lot of financial freedom and relationship coaching. And be sure to give him a like and follow on socials, and check out his services. And thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Chris. Let's do it again. This is really fun. I appreciate it.
Thanks again to Heidi. Elevate your practice with a free AI scribe, zero cost, HIPAA compliant, and ever learning. Heidi turns tedious tasks into time saved. Ready to swap? We've got you covered for past AI scribe expenses. Head to HeidiHealth.com, get started, and make your practice the envy of every stethoscope in town.
I'm excited that you made it for another episode. You are truly the best. If you've been following the show for a while, you know that my passion is to bring you the education you need to find your path to financial freedom. Please come back week after week for new content, new resources, and great guests. Until then, if you haven't already, please be sure to check out the website, www.drchrislumdphd.com for more support. I'll see you next week.